Dentistry and General Radio Network presents
the Independent Dental Practice Podcast with Dr. Sonny Spera. In this episode,
welcome to the Independent Dental Practice Podcast. Dr. Sonny Spera. Today, my guest, Dr. Amir Kazim. He's going to talk about purchasing a practice, where he came from, how he arrived, what his most important factors were in buying the practice. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and if you do, please like it, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you don't like it, please tell me. Hit me up, sonnyspera@gmail.com, or 607-624-2962 is my cell phone. Also, we're looking for a few good docs to join our practice. It's in upstate New York. You got my contact information. Love to hear from you. Great day, everybody.
Dr. Amir Kazim, lessons from buying a practice just 10 weeks in. A discussion with Dr. Sonny Spera.
Welcome to the Independent Dental Practice Podcast, Dr. Sonny Spera. Today, I have a nice young dentist. Now, I can't say that all the time, but it's a newer dentist who has really, I think, separated himself from a lot of other people in that era, in that generation. We're just talking offline a second ago. So he has been involved at the nuclear level, at the base level, at the above level. He's been involved in the political wing with the ADA and the dental societies in Washington, state of Washington, and now in California, and he's president of his local dental society. I reached out and I asked for anybody who recently bought a practice, love to have a conversation, because it seems to be something that comes up frequently now in a lot of posts and a lot of things online. Hey, I'm looking at buying a practice, and my generation is all, geez, what should I sell to a DSO? And I'm a big fan of independent dental practice, so that's why we named it dental practice. That's that same thing. So welcome, first of all, Dr. Amir Kazim. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Honor and a pleasure to be here, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. He came from north of the border. He's a Canadian. And we're not going to talk politics. That's not what we're here for. But it comes up, it comes up. But so tell me real quick, let's get a little bit of your background before we dive into the meat and potatoes.
Sure.
Why dentistry?
Why dentistry? Simply put, my mother, she is a practicing dentist in Toronto, 45 years, still going strong. And so to that end, she didn't have enough time. She didn't believe more so in the babysitter approach. So she would throw me in a back op. And so for a 5-year-old, oh my God, you have rolly chairs and water guns. How could you not want to be a dentist?
I got to ask you, the practice of dentistry in Canada, because I took a lot of courses with Brock Rondeau.
Sure.
He would talk about it often. Is she independent of the dental insurances, or is she in the, the national plan?
She's living the dream, man. She bills them fee for service, and if you want to get insurance involved, I'll give you a receipt. You go hash it out with them.
Yeah, there you go. And she's been that way the whole time?
Whole time.
Well, that's a great role model for you, let me tell you.
You'll see. Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm sure we'll get into it. So your education says you were at Howard University. So you went from Toronto, just north of Buffalo, folks, just north of Buffalo. Some of my best peeps are from up there. Leo Roughton, George Papadakis, John Karpus. So you go from Toronto to Howard University for both your undergraduate and your dental degree.
Yeah. In fact, the Howard University offered a combined program. So 2 years of undergrad, 4 years of dental.
Oh my, that's great.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, college is a great place to learn yourself and whatnot. But if I already knew dentistry was my ultimate goal, it offered me a fast track, so why not?
2 and 4, I've never even heard of such a thing. 3 4s I've heard of, but I've never heard of a 2-4.
Yep, still out there.
That's great. Now, did Howard close?
Nope, Howard's still there. Georgetown, that was the one that closed in
I
DC.
knew Georgetown closed. Yeah, I thought Howard might have at some point, but not the way they're popping up dental schools all over the country now. So,
just true.
All right, so catch us up. What do you do after dental school? Do you go do a residency? Do you go into practice? What do you do?
So I matched with an AEGD out in Yakima Valley Farm Workers in Spokane, Washington. So
other coast?
Right. Yeah, I just thought, hey, one Washington to the other, right? Why not? And then after there, that's where my career diversity really began. Because by the time I graduated, it was still in the shade of the 08-09 crisis. And nobody really was interested in hiring a full-time dentist. So I had to duct tape a career together, whether it be one day in a DSO type setting, one day in a teaching setting. Just got to duct tape it, man. But hey, it worked out. And then about 5 years
So what
in,
did you do? Did you work at multiple offices? Would you?
yes, sir, that's what I had to do. One day was teaching. They have something called the RIDE program. The
Okay.
RIDE program. It's between Eastern Washington University and UW. The UW sends out their kids out to more remote locations, and we teach them out there. So from one day to that, so the next day would be teaching downstairs in the hygiene school versus going to supplementing with a DSO for 2 days a week. It was a whole wide career.
So how long do you stay there?
In that setup, that was about 3-4 years.
Okay.
And then as luck would have it, Washington State Dental was like, hey, do you want to get involved? We'll pay for your ticket to go back to DC. Now, at that time, I didn't really have any family out in Washington State, and I still knew people in Washington, DC. So I was like, okay, free ticket. Why not? Let's do this. And in
Mhm.
fact, that's where I met my wife. And then she
Wait,
was
you
like,
met her at the organization, or you met
oh,
her?
yeah. Actually, because when I traveled back to DC, that's where I met my wife. She was actually at the medical school right next door to Howard,
Ah, okay.
and we met through a mutual friend. We hit it off, but then she was like, "Man, I'm moving back to California. The weather," and I said, "Okay, sure. I got a California license. Let's do this, man." And as luck would have it, we moved right before all the COVID craziness.
Okay, so you stayed. So you graduate dental school in
14.
2014. You do a year AGD, that's 2015, just on our timeline. You're in Seattle, Washington from 2015 to about 2019. So at what point do you get married and settle into all that relationship too?
So actually got engaged in 19
Okay.
and we got married. In fact, on a quick anecdote, we were the first ones married in Orange County. The day they said yes after COVID restrictions were released, we got hitched. There you
So you
go.
celebrated the release back into the real world by getting
Right?
married. Okay.
There you
Wonderful.
go.
All right. So in this journey from there, right, from
Mhm.
Washington now to Southern California, what jobs did you look at? What did you take in? And what did you develop? Did you start to develop the practice mindset? I want to practice more like my mom. Hey, I'm going to have to do this. I'm in California. What were you thinking about your dental practice as you were an associate?
Well, ultimately, I did have the intention in around 2019 to start looking for a practice to pick up when I
Sure.
moved to California. New start makes sense. But the world had other plans with COVID. So I resorted to what I knew, what was safe, working with a DSO. Not like a larger one, just a smaller scale one that had about 5 offices. It had me in good stead. But then, as more and more restrictions started to release, I got into a much more varied career, such that also I work on the other side of things, also with the insurance industry as being an auditor for
Yeah, yeah. You were on the, what was it? What was the one you were involved with?
I've got
Excuse me.
about four or five of them, whether
Guardian,
Guardian, also Sun Life, United, Concordia, MetLife, Anthem.
United Concord. So you have a pretty good understanding of how that side works, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I
So
because
in your
that my
practices, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to mention my whole ultimate goal is that I want to be able to walk and talk with anyone who is involved with dentistry, whether it be
Yeah.
the fresh student, the DA, hygiene, all the way to top level CEOs. That's my ultimate goal. I'm going to walk with you. I know your experience, so I can talk with you and help navigate the waters.
Okay. Now, while you're working, you said your intention was to buy a practice. What did you learn working in these corporate and these other offices? What did you learn that helps you today?
Respect the workforce. That's the number one thing that people I know in industry wide and even in other industries, overworked, underpaid. I get you.
Do more
But
with less.
But the small thing is, the small factors really play in. Even though I wasn't an owner at that time, plenty of times I would say, hey, you know what? Let's go on a Starbucks run on me. And I will go and grab you a cup of coffee. And to that end, I can't tell you how many times that paid dividends, such that, oh, hey, Doc, scaling that quad, you left a little bit of calculus on the lingual. But don't worry, as the hygienist, got in and got it out for you. Great. That teamwork is really undervalued by the DSO. Because a DSO, I get it, is all about numbers and how much they can
Yeah.
produce and all that other stuff. But one thing that has definitely been missed is the personal relationship, not necessarily between dentist and patient. That's always a given, but between dentist and hygienist, dentist and front, dentist and DA.
Okay. As you are working, so you start to learn, you start to get the understanding of let's call it group dynamics, right? And how that works. What did you think to yourself? Okay, number one, we got to make sure the team and everybody is appreciated and understood. What about the business side of the dentistry? Because you mentioned it a bit, the DSOs are bottom line and it's business first, patient second. But what did you learn about the business end that you could say, oh, I could take this and move this into my own thought? And were you thinking about, when I own my own practice, I'm going to do this?
Oh, yeah, very much. In no uncertain terms, I'm not going to screw over the patients because I would rather create. One thing I've come to realize, especially DSOs, let's make as much money while we can, while the patient is there, and let's just gouge their insurance. Oh my God, you want to make irrigation? Oh, we're going to throw in a few arrest-ins through bleaching, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I understand that there is merit to irrigation, but I'm only going to charge you like $20 or something to that effect because I want you to come back. I wanted this to actually be a dental home, not just a one visit, one stop, and then move on to somebody else.
So you don't want it to be a commodity product. No. Yeah. And I think that's where to me, the independent dental practitioners have to stand up and understand that. How about your toolbox? In other words, your skill set when you graduate dental school to where you are now. So we're looking at 10 years approximately, almost 11 years. What things have you added or would you suggest adding that's helped you out tremendously in the delivery of a good product?
It's not necessarily the toolbox per se, but I would say definitely anesthesia. Learn that, master that, because people aren't going to remember what you did unless it's like anterior veneers, but they're not going to really remember. But what they will remember is the comfort that it wasn't a traumatic experience. So much so that I was actually a lead anesthesiologist for the local hygiene school here and taught it for about 2, 3 years. Because as long as you can numb them up enough, oh man, you can do anything. Even if you nick the gingiva, you can take care of it. They just won't feel it.
Now, how about your wife? What type of practice is she in? Is she in a corporate type of setting in medicine or what's she doing?
Actually, she got her PhD in neuroscience. And so she actually is more down the research teaching type idea. So much so, I think she'll fix my brain, I'll fix her teeth. I think she has more work to do, but
Yeah, that's for another podcast. All right. So what I'm getting at is, so in the home, if you guys have a conversation, there's not really a business to be discussed. What she's doing and what you're doing are apples and oranges in all essential purpose.
Plus also to that end, I know how to give a block, I know how to give all that, but
Yeah.
the local hygiene school asked me to dive into the minutia of how many sodium goes into the nerve. And so I knew it at one point off the top of my head for the boards, but it's a little bit vague. So I definitely talked to my wife, give me a crash course so I can teach all the students tomorrow.
Sure. But what I mean is you're not talking about the practice of medicine versus the practice of dentistry per se, right?
No,
If she
not so
was in a
much.
private setting or in a hospital and some of the things that you face. Now, how about just handling or dealing with patients? Because I think that's probably the number one thing that goes underappreciated. And I can say stuff because I've done it for a little bit longer, but in all honesty, I still learn and I still see when I miss or I hit on certain things, like to make that connection to the patient, and then everything else is just simple. It becomes mechanical almost because you've made the connection and you've got the understanding of pros, cons, goods, bads. Where did you develop some of that? And do you have any mentors or teachers along the way?
Life experience, being in various settings. I can see there are some patients who just want to sit and talk and be heard. And that's why they have 20 dentures. Oh man, this doctor, he really didn't bother with, my tori for the impression, et cetera, et cetera. And then others they're just here for business. I'm here for the one filling, open my mouth, get it done, get it so I can get my bill and get out of here.
That's personality styles, right?
Yeah, that's true.
How do you manage conflicts? Let's say you got a patient, they're unhappy with something. How do you handle that?
First things first, I definitely, probably you can tell by our conversation already, I use humor to diffuse the situation.
Yeah, so it's the greatest thing on the planet. Yeah.
It works for me, man.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, no lawsuit yet, so I must be doing something right.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's always going to come down to it. And you're going to have, if you see enough patients, you're going to have a couple of patients that are the 10% or the whatever it is, the 10 versus 90 or 20 versus 80, that give you 80% or
100%.
90% of your headache.
Sure.
Okay, so let's get it to it. So you've worked in various different areas. Now comes time to, I want to buy my own practice. Tell me what you did to start the process of actually, because you said in 2019 you started thinking about buying a practice, but it's not until 2025 that you actually signed the deal. But
So
what did it take, or excuse me, what did you look at first?
I'm going to be honest with you. The main motivating factor is in 2023, I was fortunate with my wife to have my first child. And that's wonderful, great. But I can't have this roaming lifestyle of patch job, everything. I need some more security and more that guarantee and reliability. That,
Hold on. When you say patch job, you mean working in multiple offices like you are? Is that what you mean by that? By
yeah,
patch career?
yeah.
Okay. Because
But more so,
patch job in a dental office sometimes is if it's broken, just patch that baby up. Anyway, go ahead. So
I get you. But more so that I have some accountability, knowing that days Tuesday through Friday I'll be at the office, and then Monday I could do the insurance or whatever else. It's really was born out of that. And then in 2023, I started to actively look. Some of them, and I'm just going to be very honest with you, a lot of offices here in Orange County are severely overpriced. So unlike some other grads who are just like, oh my God, I got to get my name in lights and have this attention. So whatever I did obviously was working for me. So it wasn't a burning, like, oh my God, I have to get this done. So it took about 2 years until I saw all the stars align, figuring out what office I could work with. And I saw it start posted in January of 2025 and took ballpark about 5 months to cross the T's, dot the I's, and take ownership May 30th.
so when did you first start the process with this particular one? What was the
Like
date again?
the January, like the first week of January.
This year,
Yep.
2025. Prior to that, how many had you looked at?
I've looked at a lot. It was like 10 of them, and only two of them actually were warranted to go to the next level. And then when I got into the weeds of it, like for example, with the landlord, they were giving the guy $3.25 a square foot, and they wanted to start me at $7. And I'm like, buddy, I can't do that. I'd be working for you, you know?
Yeah, so talk me through, because you went over it quickly. You looked at 10 and you went right to got it down to two. What was your process? What was your filtering process? Let's call it.
My filtering process, I started with, is it a reasonable ask with traffic and everything here? Can I get
So
there and
ask
see
in
my
terms of your travel or ask in terms of the price, what's the reasonable ask? What's that? Define that.
my travel?
Okay.
Does it make sense for me to do this on a daily commute
Right.
from
So that makes sense because what you said was, I want stability and let's just say quality of life. You're a father now, husband you are, but now, okay, now you got to look at it and say, okay, so now location is everything for you, at least the first step.
that's the strong filter because
Okay,
I'm on
great. So
this.
that's first, right?
Yeah.
So 10 comes down to what now? Five now? Does it come down to five
Well,
from there?
ballpark.
Right.
That's
So then
reasonable.
what's the next thing?
Next thing is cost. Does it make sense versus how much they're pulling in per year
Hmm.
versus what they're asking?
So you want to tell a little tale about a couple of ones that didn't make the grade to get to the final two?
Sure. Simply put, I'm only pulling in 150 a year as the net profit. Okay, how much are you asking for it? 600K?
Yeah, so they're asking 4x net.
Yeah, which is a little bit,
No, no,
especially
it's just flat out crazy. I'm
even more
sorry.
so when most of your tools are 10 plus years, you haven't put anything into it. Plus, being the insurance auditor, I know it would fail instantly and I need to bring it up to modern day
Sure.
standards.
So
Respectfully,
what did a practice like that look like on the gross side? So the net was 150, which I'm glad you started with because that's a big thing for me. We've purchased a number of practices over the years, retiring dentists brought into our practice because we have multiple offices. And a lot of them were just guys that wanted to retire, called us up, and then we made it work. But to me, that was a big factor. I think it's got to be real dollars. What would a practice like that nets 150? What was it gross at six?
ballpark, I think it was close to 6 and
Yeah, so
change.
they think they're going to get a full year's gross when all they bring home is 150.
Yeah, yeah. And
Was there any
to
funny
that,
money in there? Did you look at it? Was it like overpaying their wife, or were there
as
anything in
far
there
as
that would make the bottom line look a little more attractive once you got those things? I call them add backs.
Yeah, there definitely was one or two to that end. A wife was on payroll and was a little bit inflated. Again, I think a lot in dentistry is more the name and lights, the star, the ego, if you will. And at the end of the day, I'm not interested. I'm interested in the bottom line of profit, what you get to take home.
How about were you dealing with the broker in all of these, or were any of these independent?
Most of because beforehand I didn't have any contacts here, so
Sure.
I had
Yeah.
to go through brokers mainly. And of course, many of them were gaslighting me. Oh my God, look at the potential here. This is so
Yeah.
much potential. I'm
Yeah,
like,
but I'm
if I
not
hear
buying
that word,
potential. I'm buying performance. I'm not buying, don't sell me potential. Sell me performance. Pretend I can't do anything different than this guy does or this gal. That's a
gotcha.
worst ploy, but that's real estate, right? That's everything. They always
Right.
do that. They want to close the deal and they want it to be as high as possible. I'm glad you stuck to your gun. So how did you end up what were the last two? Talk about the two that you end up working and finally deciding on.
I'll be honest, one was in Newport Beach, and I alluded to it beforehand. On paper, everything was great. He was pulling in 350 a year. He was only asking 200. So I'm like, hey, the math is mathing here.
Right.
Yeah, there's a few, like aesthetics that give it a nice new veneer, but it's
Yeah,
manageable.
but that's
I
up to
can,
you to do.
I get you, but I'm just saying. But when I had talked to landlord, that's when the deal kind of went off because they were asking. He was getting 350, asking me 7 to start with. No, thank you.
Why there was no lease in place? Was it a month to month? How can someone do that? You got a lease, you take over the lease, no?
Oh yeah, no, it was on a month-to-month basis, and I wanted, of course, had to show the bank some longevity. I'm going to be
Hmm.
here for a while, and so when that happened, landlord, oh, you really want the practice, huh? Let's charge you double.
Now, was it within your comfort level in terms of location?
In terms of like geographic location,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
but it was in a medical suite and it was shoved up on the fourth floor, and they really didn't have any good signage. And so if I'm up in a corner paying more than 4,000 a year, 4,000 a month, what's the point, man?
Now, what about the facilities themselves? Let's talk about your last two. Did you look at in terms of number of operatories and any of that stuff? There had to be some other things on your checklist.
Yeah, the major things like I just want because here in Southern California, there's still a mean streak of old school like developer and old school film. So I wanted to make sure that it's still digital, that they had digital files because that's what I work best with. To that end, they have equipment that I could do. And not only that, but the philosophy is the same. I'm a general dentist. I'm not about to try and take over an endo only practice. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or a heavy ortho practice.
Sure.
Did you add any of those skills along the way, endo or ortho
Oh
or
yeah.
surgery?
Let's put it this way. I've come to realize that molar endo is not my forte, but bicuspid to bicuspid, I got you, no problem.
Okay. All right. Have you gotten into like Invisalign or clear chair aligners or anything?
Yeah, I've gotten certified. I've had one or two cases, but the one piece of advice I picked up along the way, especially with clear aligners and aesthetic results, you have to be very, very picky with what cases you take on versus what you refer to the ortho.
Mm-hmm. Got to know the patient's expectations.
It's
If
true, it's
anything,
true.
I've learned that. Let me tell you. All right. So talk about the practice that you end up buying. Share whatever details you want. What does that look like on paper?
Sure. So it was about 400K. It's in Lake Forest, so that's about 15, 20 minutes away.
Would you
Works out
consider
pretty
that a
good.
suburb, small town?
Yeah, it would definitely be more suburbia versus downtown
So a
type
little less
area.
competition, I would think, right?
Not particularly.
Not
In
really,
the
huh?
same strip mall, there is one other GP and then another P to O.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So 400 was the price of purchase price, you said?
Yeah.
What did that look like? What were you buying? What kind of production? What kind of office setting? What did that look like? As much as you want to
So
share, share.
yeah, no worries. So there was a twice a week associate who was there. Hygiene ran 3 days a week. To that end, about 1,200 patients, and as defined, they visited the office within 18 months.
Yeah.
Reasonable. To that end, Dentrix, all the basic stuff was there. So yeah, it was pretty good on paper. And although there were some things like this guy, the previous owner, he did not, he left it carpeted, a throwback from the 80s and 90s. And as from my experience as an auditor, that's a no-no, especially it's fine in the front desk area, but in the treatment area, that's a no bueno. I knew I had to roll up my sleeves and do a few adjustments, but
Tell you
I
what,
get
you change the flooring, you paint the walls, you got a brand new office from everybody's perspective.
amen. That's
Really,
what
you don't have to
people.
do like cabinets and you really don't have to get fancy.
I
That's
get you.
that's what they tell you at Wendy's when you read that book by Dave Thomas. He talks about it's a coat of paint and fix it. It's just give the place a fresh look. So when you buy the practice, you have now calculated what are you going to spend on some of these renovations? Is that part of your loan or is that going to come out of your own side?
Nope. So I got a loan for 450 and overall, and so I'm 400 for the purchase price, and then 50 to play around with like capital investment.
Was the practice out of network or was they in network?
They were in network with just PPOs.
That's a big donut, just PPOs.
Yeah,
That's a lot of insurance companies, no?
yeah. No, but again, I was advised that I should work with there's some companies out there that can get a better reimbursement fee structure. And so I'm in the process now still of working with them to get a better reimbursement. And although we were in network, I'm temporarily out. And what I've been surviving on is basically just cash patients. And I still keep the lights on. So it's been working,
So, folks, you have been in practice by yourself for approximately 3 months.
give or take.
So this deal all went down May, right?
Yep.
Okay, so how long did it take from agreement to close?
Agreement to close.
Like,
Agreement was on
like agreement.
paper.
You shake hands with the broker, you see the doc, you're like, this works for me, let's move.
Sure.
Lawyers
Uh,
haven't looked at it yet. Give people what that looks like now in real time.
So after I kicked the wheels, as it were, allow me to take a look in. We
Yeah.
handshake agreement was in end of January,
So literally end of January to early May,
at end of May.
end of
By the
May.
time
So
when I took the keys.
that's 4 full months.
Yep.
What
And
was what slowed it down?
what slowed it down that I didn't get a lot of good conversation from the seller's lawyers. They held out a lot. And then to that end, out of nowhere at the very end, he put a lot of last minute stipulations and he said, I would prefer if you do this. I would prefer if you do that. And a lot of heartbreak, a lot of issue. And even to that end, I found out that the compressor, I had an independent guy go in and take a look. He was like, it's on its last legs. I got a lot of blowback. He said a new compressor, probably around, let's say 10 overall. I said, okay, fine. I get it. I'm not going to put the pressure on you because you're leaving to the seller. Let's go halvesies. No, that seller just wants to make $1. This is it's working. Of course, I was like, fine, I'll let it go. I'm not going to press you on it. Of course, when I come in 3 days later, it's on its last legs. I need to buy a whole new one. So the guy just threw
Let me
me
tell
over.
you, if how long was that doctor in practice in that location?
So about 8 years.
Oh, that's not long.
No, I get you.
Because if they're the longer they're there, the more the people are like that. And then when you go, my first practice, October 1, 1991, I go in and we close and I go to the office and the same situation. I can't tell you how many things were held together with scotch tape and bubble gum and paper clips. I really can't. And we're out of gloves on the first day.
Nice.
And at the closing, point blank, attorney, the office is fully stocked. Oh, yes, it is. Look you right in the eye. Oh, yeah, really? We're out of gloves. I'm not talking bonding agent. We're not talking at that time amalgam or compound. We're talking gloves. So anyway,
The more they change,
that's the problem a lot of times in independent sales
sure.
is it's little things like that. And I'm glad to see that you're rolling with it because that's what I did. And otherwise, what are you going to do? You can't cry over spilt milk, but the transition has to happen. Now, talk about the transition. Since
Sure.
we're so new and so fresh, doctor sticks around, doesn't stick around. Wife was
So
involved. Is the wife involved now?
yeah, with that practice, so the owner, he has 3 other practices here in Southern California. So he just basically, here's the keys, I'm out. He has an associate who's been there for God knows how long. And I was under the assumption he would still work the 2 days a week. Great.
Sure.
The very next week, no contract, no nothing. Hey, Doc, I'm only going to go down to 1 day a week. Oh, that's nice. And
But do you need him to be there?
no, but it's just nice because he has built up that relationship,
I knew it.
goodwill.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd love to work with. It's not, is it vital for him to be there 24/7? Not really. But
How many days is the office open?
the office from Tuesday through Friday. And
So that's what you wanted, 4 days.
yeah,
And
he's
in that
perfect.
one day that he was going to be there, are you there together?
No, I take it over. In fact, that's why I'm chit-chatting with you on a Friday. He's running the show right now while I'm here chatting with you
Okay. And this is going to continue for how long?
until he says he doesn't want to do this anymore.
So you like the arrangement, him working one day and you working the other three?
Yeah, because I'm to that end as an owner, I can still quote unquote feed him because most of the exams and the basic restorative stuff go through me, and he likes placing implants. That's I've seen too many of those cases go south. So he wants to take that responsibility. Fine, I will just screw on the crown on top.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now you don't have a lot of past histories that you can say what's wrong, but what are some things that you learned in this process that you like to share with some other folks that are going to go through it?
To that end, make sure you kick the wheels, and look under the hood very, very diligently.
How deep a dive did you go under the hood? Like, did you go into every employee, all the their employment contracts, or their responsibilities, their roles? How deep a dive did you get into the accounting, the books? How far did you go?
Probably I should have done more with the job description and that kind of aspect. I just, I'd say necessarily take it at face value, but with what they typed out for me of this is name, role, salary. And I was like,
Okay,
okay, that seems reasonable. I'll take it there. As soon as I jumped in, actually, the DA who does 3 days a week, no, that's actually only one. The office man front
free
desk,
time.
I got you. And that's what I'm saying. Make sure any new prospective buyer dive deep into everything. I just went so more so on the actual physical aspect and the supplies. And that was great, but I should have done more in that one in retrospect. Because, for example, the front desk, she's unfortunately had a bout of shingles and she hasn't been here for 2 months.
Oh,
And
the whole
to
time
make
you've been there.
matters, yeah, to make matters even better, it's the wife of the associate too. You know, I have to see what's going
You better
on.
get ready for them taking off.
Yeah. So there's a whole lot of, and to that end, over time, I got to hear all the stories, all the confusion, all the stuff that was never presented to me as the prospective buyer.
So if that doc is running 3 or 4 offices, he couldn't have been in the office very much. If the place was open 4 days a week, associates there 2 days, I'm guessing he was there one day.
100% absentee owner. They
Okay, so he
never
was
they
never here.
never really saw him. They saw him basically on the off chance on a Friday afternoon picking up the checks.
Okay, so how's it going? First month.
Lights are on. No staff has decided to jump ship, so getting by.
See that's the part. That's the part when you deal with DSOs and corporate buys, they have the wording so favorable for them. So if you present something like that and you put data and information that's not right, they can go recoup money for that,
Sure.
for every last detail. Because every situation that was the sticking point for me would be okay, I'm gonna talk to each of the employees and find out, okay, what are you getting paid? Every single one. There was always discrepancies. How much? Oh, I have 5 weeks vacation, but we only pay him 2 weeks. What is it? And then finally we're like, okay, we'll talk to them. And then again, we got to interview them for the process. And there was one where she was being paid, I'm going to say $40 an hour when the going rate for that job was 20 to 25. So I just said, listen, we can't pay you that. And I understand if this isn't for you, but unless you pick up some other jobs in the office and change your role, we can't pay this for this job. And I just honest from day one. So she said no, but the receptionist and the hygienist stayed with us, and I respect that. Did you have that conversation, like an employment, like an interview with each person as you hire them into your entity?
Yes, yes, I did. I made sure that day, which I wish I would have negotiated to have these conversations or start them beforehand so I could know
Yeah, they
what's
won't
going
let
on.
you. They won't let you till the cash is in their hand. That's a big deal. If you're buying a house, I'll give you an
Right,
example. We're dealing with this right now. You're buying a house, it's a cash deal, and you're like, you know what? No contingencies, but I want to have the house inspected. Well, you can't. Why? You have the thing. It's signed. This
right.
is not a contingency. Are people just so crooked anymore, or like you had it
I
in
would,
writing?
I
But yeah, I
would,
had that scenario too. They want, all right, I'll talk to them afterwards. But there were a couple that they did let us speak to them, but it's gotten worse and worse over the years. It's crazy.
again, not until put my name on the dotted line was I permitted to talk to everybody.
Okay. And you said you found a lot of discrepancies. Was their pay within the range of what it should be for the jobs they were doing?
I would even dare say some of them were still underpaid.
Okay. Well, that's nice. You can go and give them a little raise, put them back where they should be. Cost of
Yes,
living anyway.
very much
Okay.
so. But at that same token, I was informed by the hygienist, oh, yeah, a previous owner would give me a like $250 stipend for healthcare. I was like,
Not written
I
anywhere.
never saw that. And all I can assume, I'm going to take your word for it. I will give it to you. And hopefully the dividends from having you employed here will pay off.
You go back to what you said, the employees and being taken care of. You also got to make sure you do it on the up and up, legal and correct.
For sure.
Now, did your lawyer or your accountant, who was integral in the whole process, or who was more important for you?
Lawyer.
Really?
For me,
Why?
it was definitely lawyer because there were so many little minute, small little things that the seller was trying to get away with, as it
Yep.
were.
He's
I,
already established himself as a little shady. I hope we got that. But go ahead.
but to that, there were a lot of extra contingencies he wanted to put in and walk away with this, that, and the other. But because I had more of a bulldog type lawyer, he was like, no, we're not dealing with this. This is a non-negotiable. Drop this from the clause. Because I'll be honest with you, don't major in accounting. I have enough sense what is worth it and what
Hmm.
is not worth it. It's nice to get a double check, and that's why I have a CPA to verify that my sense
Sure.
is correct. But lawyer, that's the major one that I needed help with, and that's the one that came through.
Okay, so let's talk about the negotiation process, right? Because it was 4 months and there was a lot. Who wrote the buy sell contract, the buy contract? Did your lawyer write the buying agreement?
No, it was
Okay,
the
so you
seller who set the foundation.
yeah. So you're starting off on the wrong side of the middle.
Yep.
Everybody will tell you that. Okay. And in the end, most good deals, the buyer feels like they did to pay too much, and the seller feels like they gave it away for too little. So there's always that's typically a successful deal. If there were 10 to 15 negotiating points, let's say in the process, where'd you fall on those?
Oh, I paid too much for this place. There's no
Yeah,
question.
because you didn't get what was really advertised. That's for one thing.
No,
But
and then
but
all
these
the
clauses, right? There's 10 different. How many of these things did you end up having to?
ultimately, in that regard, I think about five of them that I relented on, and I said, okay, if this really means that much to you, I'll go through with it. But then, like for example, I still have to collect his AR, right? I didn't
For how
purchase
long?
it for 120 days from the point
Okay.
of,
Now, are you getting a cut for that for collecting it?
yeah, I mean, this
10% or
typical,
something?
uh, I'm in the poorhouse, man, 5%. But yeah, people around me, the lawyer said that's pretty much industry standard, anywhere from 5 to 15%. Meh.
Yeah, but now you're
Um,
collecting 60-day-old bills, 90-day-old bills.
no, I get you to that end because the best part is, although he now has actually flown back at me and said, "Oh my God, I need a weekly report of my AR and stuff." I said, "Sir, if you read the contract, there's no way I'm just supposed to update you. You do not get to define how frequently I do it. So as I pay my monthly bills, I will send you a report of what we are trying to do for yours." But I don't know, he's barking up the wrong tree, man. Most
What
of
do you
his
what do you
AR,
do after 120 days? What happens?
I assume everything.
No, do you hand over the bills? So you have Mrs. Jones, who's a patient of the office, and
Mhm.
she owes $300 and she's paying $100 a month, let's say, or $50 a month. So
Sure.
it's 6 months. You're collecting it for, you said 120, so 4 months. So at this point, she still owes $100.
Mhm.
What do you do? Does that become your AR or does that go to
Yep.
him for he
No,
collects?
no, that becomes my AR.
So the AR now becomes yours. Okay, so you essentially have purchased the AR for a collection fee that you only have to do it for 4 months,
I guess so.
essentially.
But in my mind's eye,
Because
I've already written off that because most of the AR is 90
yeah,
plus. So
yeah,
it's not
you ain't
worth,
gonna see it.
yeah, it's
But
not
if
worth
you
the
have
time.
patients that you don't want to hand it back over to someone who might just all of a sudden start suing everybody in town. Now, did you announce to the patient base that it's a new dental practice? How did you handle your introduction?
So I actually did not. My philosophy was that since the associate was supposed to be there for still the majority of time, that the patients shouldn't know anything and they will just see him and they'll just see me randomly pop in 1 day a week. But when he said, "Oh, hey, I gotta leave," okay, so I decided to just send out an introductory email saying, "Hey, don't worry. The associate's still here, your hygienist is still here. I'm just coming in to help out the cause."
Yeah.
Type idea.
Okay. Now, did you change the business designation?
Nope. I
You didn't
tried.
change the EIN, nothing?
Oh, I purchased because that EIN closed down and I had my own EIN to bring in.
Is
So
there a
that,
name? Does the practice have a name?
yeah. And with California, I applied for the doing business as license and stuff. So I can assume that because that's exactly what I think is the best thing to minimize transition type anxiety.
But these are all steps that you have to do. So if someone's looking to buy a practice, you can't just assume, oh, now it just becomes mine. No, you have to interview the employees, you have to hire them for the
Mhm.
new business. And if you have a retirement plan, you're starting in May, may not be eligible for your new retirement plan until June of 2026.
Sure.
There's a few things that change.
In that regard, yeah. But I did read up there is no retirement plan. There is, because a
So there
lot
is
of
none in
these
place.
there's none in place currently, so I never had to come in and put in a new one. But I applied the second day I applied for the California license, like the name change and all the other good stuff.
Any hiccups in any of these things?
Not particularly, especially when you're dealing with governments, and they just took their sweet time. They said 4 to 6 weeks, so you can best be assured. 6 weeks later is when I heard back from them.
All right. Now, who's helping you with this checklist of things to do? Because this can be overwhelming to the average dentist who's starting and running a business as opposed to just being a cog in the wheel.
Sure. To that end, I was actually introduced to Dental Coach USA, which is a dental coach who helps transition. They were actually introduced in the neighboring local dental society, and then just a friend of a friend introduced me, and then they're like, "Hey, you're opening a practice. Come talk to us so we can lay things out for you. Who goes where, what goes when, how much things cost," type idea.
Okay. So you had some guidance, some help there. Okay. Did you do anything to? So it's not really a guy retiring. So it's not like you're going to have a retirement party. Have you done anything different in terms of marketing, or we know that you changed the look a little bit with the floors and some sprucing up, but has there been anything
So
else that you aim or you plan on doing in the next 6 months?
yeah, so in terms of marketing, I have brought on, I'm sure you're aware of it, dental intelligence. So I can more directly talk to the patients versus just hoping and praying that they'll come back and honor their 6 month recall type
Mhm.
idea. So that there for marketing. But even to that end, I have tried to change the culture more. We're here in Southern California. It gets hot during the summer. The previous owner was very strict. It cannot go below 74 degrees. And I'm like, as a Canadian, ooh, still hot, man. So, guys, don't if you feel hot here, please lower the thermostat. Feel comfortable here.
I
So,
have an opinion on that. I will probably keep it to myself, but the one piece of advice that the dentist gave me when I bought the practice was set the thermostat where you're comfortable, tell everybody else to adjust. And his point was, I didn't get it until I worked. I had two front office people, both named Sue. One was Sue, the other one by Susan. Okay.
okay,
Like, for example, we worked Monday 12 to 5 and then 6 to 9. That was our day Monday.
sure.
Susan was 12 to 5. Sue was 6 to 9. Same day, same temperature in the office. Sue worked turtleneck sweater. We have the neck sweater over the top, bundled up, scarf around her neck. Sue at the front desk, shirt unbuttoned a little bit, open, wind, a fan blowing on her. Same temperature. So, oh my God, is he right about that one?
No, fair enough. But my thing is, if getting back to how we started our conversation,
Yeah.
if they feel heard and approachable and they feel safe enough to change the thing, then I will probably get the better work experience from them rather than feeling on edge. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. It's just that if you want to be comfortable and
Sure.
otherwise, as you deal with, especially in a predominantly female work environment, there's different internal body temperatures. And you're never going to make everyone happy. Yeah. And that comes from a couple years of experience with multiple places and multiple type of temperature
I
settings. So,
definitely will defer to
okay.
the expert.
So your feeling, and you get a chance to talk, and you have 10 dentists in front of you, and they're all contemplating buying a dental practice. Three pieces of advice that you would suggest they take as gospel on how to handle it.
Number one, first things first, no question, communication. master your communication skills, whether it be to the internal side of things, dealing with office manager, front desk, et cetera, or patients, because you could be the world's best clinician. Oh my God, I can place an implant in 10 minutes. But if you don't have that personality, if you don't have people wanting to be there, no one's going to come through your door. You'll turn away everyone in the first 6 months, and then you'll have nothing else to go on. The second point, make sure you do your due diligence. And that's not just on the hardware of the office. See if you can push a little bit to get the intangibles, such as talk about the relationships, and not just from the buyer's standpoint, but from other people around. Because I told you, as soon as I took over the keys, man, everyone let their hair down and told me all the confusion that was in this place. Then as the third one, it harkens back to the first idea of just make sure your employees know that they can approach you and feel comfortable to do that. Because when you break down that barrier, you'll often get the best results. Maybe naive, maybe foolish, but as of right now, this set that I'm paired with now, I honestly believe they don't have malicious intent. Don't get me wrong. I still will be, actually, let me rephrase. The third point, be a jack of all trades, but a master of none, such that you know enough if your team is screwing you, but you don't know exactly all the nuances of how to do accounting, of how to do this, but know enough if you know someone's not pulling their weight. That is actually my better third point.
Good deal. All right, I'm going to wrap now. How do people get in touch with you? You said you're in
Lake Forest, California.
Lake Forest, California.
Anderson Family Dental. That's the name in Lake Forest, California. I'm more than happy to share my email, phone number. If you guys want to talk and just need advice from a new owner, by all means, I'm there. If you just want to hang out and just vent about dentistry, hey, I'm here for a listen too, man.
You want to share that now? What's your email? What's your
sure. So the email is Amir, AMIR .e.Kazim, KAZIM @gmail.com, or the phone number is 301-335-1249.
There you go, folks. Find Dr. Kazim wherever you want. And he's obviously very forthcoming and willing to share. And you could just tell by all the experiences that you had and your desire to help the next generation, or this generation for that matter. So thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it.
If I can help out in any way, shape, fashion, or form, you know how to get a hold of me.
You got it. Appreciate it. We got to have you back. Let's do a follow-up in 6 months. Let's see how you do closing out the year.
Good.
This has been a production of Dentistry in General Radio Network. Visit our website, dentistryingeneral.com, to join engaging clinical and business conversations, explore our dental podcasts, and stay updated on our upcoming live events.